Hello, friends. Welcome to the English audiobook YouTube channel. If you are working hard in your life but still feel empty inside, if you feel you could have done much more but got stuck somewhere, and if you truly want to rebuild yourself, then this audiobook is for you. Because today we are going to talk about the book Time to Rebuild Yourself, which reminds you that you are not broken, you are just scattered, and it is still possible to rebuild yourself. This story will give a new direction to your thinking, your habits, and your life. When a person faces repeated failures, when hard work does not give results, and when self-belief starts breaking, then the biggest question arises: where is the problem? In the mind, in luck, or in circumstances? And this question is the soul of this book. This book does not say that you are weak. It says you are not broken, just scattered, and scattered things can be put together again. No person is born unsuccessful. Circumstances push people down, wrong thinking stops them, and fear holds them back. Brian Tracy says that whatever you become in life is the result of your thinking. If your thinking is weak, your efforts become weak. If your thinking is strong, even circumstances bend. This book clearly explains that change in life does not start from outside, but from within. People want to change money, job, or city, but they do not change their thinking, and that is the biggest mistake. Brian Tracy says that until a person rebuilds himself from within, nothing outside can give him a new life. You may change your job, start a new business, or move to a new place, but if the same fear, laziness, doubt, and negative thinking remain inside, the same situation will return. So the first and most important message of this book is start rebuilding yourself from your mind. Brian Tracy explains that every person has two voices in the mind. One says you can do it, and the other says you cannot. The problem is that most people believe the second voice. This voice develops from childhood, through teachers, family, and society, repeating that things are difficult, not possible for you, and that you are average. Slowly, these beliefs settle in the mind, and a person starts limiting himself. Brian Tracy says the biggest enemy is not the outside world, but your own limited thinking. This book teaches that you must change your mental programming. Just like a phone with wrong software cannot function properly, a mind filled with wrong beliefs cannot make the right decisions. If you keep telling yourself, "I am weak," your mind will accept it as truth. But if you keep saying, "I can learn, I can grow, I can improve," your mind will start working in that direction. A person becomes what he thinks. This is not just motivation, it is a rule of life. The book explains that successful people are not from another world. They have the same fears, problems, and responsibilities. The only difference is thinking. Successful people believe, "I am responsible for my life," while unsuccessful people blame circumstances, people, or luck. Brian Tracy says the day you take responsibility, your life starts changing. The book also explains that people stay stuck in the past. Old mistakes, failures, and memories keep repeating in the mind, creating fear to move forward. He clearly says, you are not your past, not your decisions, and not your mistakes. You are what you think and do today. If a person understands that every day is a new chance, life becomes a journey, not a burden. Rebuilding yourself does not mean everything changes in one day. It is a process built through small daily decisions, waking up early, reading books, choosing the right people, and leaving bad habits. All these together create a new person. People often want big change in one day, and when it does not happen, they give up. But the truth is, big change always comes from small steps. One powerful message of this book is that fear is actually an illusion. Fear is created by imagining a future that has not happened yet. Brian Tracy says that the more a person fears, the less he acts, and the less he acts, the more he fears. This becomes a cycle that must be broken. It breaks only when a person takes action despite fear. Slowly, confidence starts returning. Brian Tracy says confidence is not magic. Confidence is built through action. When you do something and see that you can do it, a new identity forms in your mind, and you start seeing yourself as capable instead of weak. The book also explains that people are often not clear about their goals. They want many things, but do not know exactly what they want. Brian Tracy says if the goal is not clear, the mind keeps wandering and a person feels tired. So an important part of rebuilding yourself is deciding your direction in life, what kind of person you want to become, what kind of life you want to live, and where you want to invest your energy. When direction is clear, the mind becomes calm and hard work starts making sense. Brian Tracy also explains that successful people respect their time because time is life. A person who wastes time is actually wasting life. The book says most people stay busy all day but are not productive. They avoid important work and keep doing easy tasks because important work feels difficult and the mind seeks comfort. But if you want to rebuild yourself, you must learn to do the most important task first, even if it is hard. The book strongly emphasizes the power of habits. Brian Tracy says a person's life is the result of his habits. If habits are weak, life becomes weak. If habits are strong, life becomes strong. Rebuilding yourself means changing your habits, how you wake up, speak, think, eat, and work. All these habits together shape your future. The good part is that habits can be changed. The book also teaches that you must take care of your energy because without energy, no change is possible. Brian Tracy says a tired person cannot make good decisions. So taking care of your body is also part of rebuilding. Proper sleep, proper food, and light exercise make the mind stronger. And when the mind is strong, a person does not fear situations but handles them. Brian Tracy also explains that negative people are the biggest obstacle in rebuilding yourself. They find faults in everything, make fun of dreams, and discourage every effort. The book clearly says if you listen to everyone, you will never listen to yourself. So stay away from people who pull you down and stay close to those who inspire you. Another important part of the book is learning to talk to yourself. Brian Tracy says a person talks to himself all day in the mind, and if this self-talk is negative, it slowly breaks the person from inside. So rebuilding yourself means changing your inner talk, telling yourself that you are learning, improving, trying, and not giving up. These thoughts slowly build a new identity. The book also teaches that the search for perfection stops people from starting. People think they will begin when everything is perfect, but nothing is ever perfect. Brian Tracy says imperfect action is better than no action. When you start, things become clear along the way and you keep learning. Rebuilding yourself means stopping the wait and starting now. Brian Tracy also says that every person faces setbacks in life. There are failures and losses, but the one who treats every setback as a lesson moves forward. The book clearly says failure is not an identity, it is feedback that shows what needs to change and improve. When you accept this mindset, fear disappears and learning begins. In this part, the book also explains that discipline is the bridge between dreams and reality. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline stays every day. Brian Tracy says doing the right thing even when you do not feel like it is real strength. This strength rebuilds a person from within. By this point, the book makes you realize that you are not broken, you are just scattered, and scattered things can be put together again. If thinking changes, habits change, and responsibility is taken, any person can rebuild life. Rebuilding yourself does not mean changing only on the outside, but changing your inner identity. Brian Tracy says every person runs a story about himself in his mind, and this story decides what he will do and what he will not do. If the story says, "I am weak," the person avoids opportunities. If the story says, "I can learn," the person sees challenges as opportunities. So the real beginning of rebuilding is changing your self-image. The book explains that self-image is formed in childhood, but it can be changed. Brian Tracy says the mind does not know the difference between what is real and what is repeatedly imagined. If a person imagines himself daily as successful, strong, and calm, the mind starts accepting that identity as truth. Slowly, actions and decisions begin to change. This is not magic, it is training of the mind. The book also explains that goals are not just for writing. Goals give direction to a person's energy. Brian Tracy says that a person with clear goals moves ahead faster, even with less effort, because his work is not scattered. He knows what to do and what not to do. Rebuilding yourself means clarifying your life goals and reminding yourself of them daily. Brian Tracy also says that goals should be broken into small parts so the mind does not feel fear. When a goal looks too big, the mind delays it, but when it is divided into small steps, the mind accepts it as doable, and taking action becomes easier. This is how a person slowly becomes stronger. The book also gives practical advice about money and career. Brian Tracy says financial stress weakens thinking, so part of rebuilding is increasing your skills and making yourself valuable. The more problems you can solve, the more you grow. The world does not reward people, it rewards value. The book also teaches that learning should never stop. Brian Tracy says a person who learns something new every day never falls behind. Reading, listening, and practicing keep a person relevant. When a person feels capable, fear automatically reduces. Another strong message of the book is that environment deeply affects a person. Brian Tracy says you become like the environment you live in. If people around you complain, you start doing the same. If people around you look for solutions, your thinking also changes. So, to rebuild yourself, you must change your environment. The book also explains that focus is the greatest strength. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. When focus breaks, progress stops. Brian Tracy says doing one task at a time with full effort is real productivity. Multitasking keeps you busy but not successful. It also explains that a person must understand emotions, because emotions drive decisions. Brian Tracy says the one who learns to control emotions can make the right decisions even under pressure. Rebuilding means stopping reactions and learning to respond. The book also says forgiveness is part of rebuilding. Many people carry past grudges that make them heavy inside. Brian Tracy says forgiveness is not for others, but for yourself. When you let go of the past, your energy returns, and you feel lighter to move forward. Brian Tracy also says gratitude changes thinking. When a person focuses daily on what he has, fear and complaints reduce. Gratitude brings a person into the present, and a person who lives in the present is calmer and stronger. Another important part of the book is consistency. Brian Tracy says doing a little work daily is far better than doing a lot once a month. Consistency makes a person unstoppable because he keeps moving forward without stopping, and big changes happen over time. The biggest test of rebuilding comes when a person is alone, when no one is watching, no one is praising, and there is no pressure. Brian Tracy says true character is what a person does when alone, because those habits slowly become his identity. If a person does the right things even when alone, life automatically moves in the right direction. The book also explains how to start your day. Brian Tracy says the first hour of the morning decides the direction of the whole day. If a person starts the day with complaints, checking the phone, or laziness, the whole day follows that energy. But if a person remembers goals, talks positively to himself, and plans the day, the mind works in that direction all day. Rebuilding yourself means making a strong start to your day. It is also said that self-control is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. In the beginning, discipline feels difficult, but after some time, it starts feeling easier because the mind accepts new habits. That is why change feels heavy at first, but with time, it becomes your identity. The book also explains that a person should name his fears. Brian Tracy says when fear is vague, it looks bigger, but when you clearly write what you are afraid of, the mind starts seeing it as a problem, and every problem has a solution. In this way, fear slowly becomes weaker, and clarity begins to appear. The book also says that you should not run away from failure. Brian Tracy says a person who avoids failure never understands his true capacity, but a person who faces failure becomes stronger each time. Rebuilding means seeing failure not as an enemy, but as a teacher, and learning from every experience. Brian Tracy also explains that a person should change his language because words shape thinking. If a person keeps saying, "This is difficult," the mind gives up. But if he says, "This is a challenge," the mind starts finding solutions. When words change, perspective changes. And when perspective changes, decisions change. The book also says that comparison destroys growth. Brian Tracy says every person's journey is different. Some start early, some start late, but a person who compares himself with others cannot see his own progress. Rebuilding means becoming better than your past self, not better than someone else. Brian Tracy also explains that patience is a hidden weapon of success. Today's world wants instant results, but real change takes time. The one who has patience lasts longer and becomes stronger. The path of rebuilding may be slow, but it is solid. An important part of the book is finding meaning in life. Brian Tracy says when a person knows why he is working hard, he feels less tired and problems seem smaller. Purpose connects a person from within and keeps him going. Brian Tracy also says service makes a person grow. When a person helps others, his self-respect increases, and he feels useful instead of useless. Rebuilding means becoming better not only for yourself, but also for others. The book also teaches that gratitude should become a habit. Brian Tracy says a person who learns to say thank you daily forgets how to complain. Gratitude calms the mind, and a calm mind makes better decisions. The book gives a strong message that there is no final version in life. A person is always evolving, falling, rising, learning, and moving forward. Rebuilding yourself means accepting this process and trying to become a little better every day. This book builds the belief that no matter where you are right now, a new beginning is possible. You just need the right thinking, the right habits, and daily action, and that is the true meaning of rebuilding yourself. The book also explains that life should be seen as a long-term game. Brian Tracy says a person who runs after short-term comfort gets long-term pain, and the one who accepts short-term pain gets long-term freedom. Rebuilding means working a little hard today so that tomorrow becomes easier. The book also explains that routine is the backbone of a person's life. Brian Tracy says a person who controls his daily routine slowly starts controlling his life. From waking up in the morning to sleeping at night, if everything is in the right direction, a person can move forward without much stress. Routine teaches discipline, and discipline is the foundation of growth. Brian Tracy also says that clarity is the greatest strength of a person. When a person clearly knows what he wants, what he needs to do, and what he needs to avoid, his energy becomes focused and progress becomes faster. When a person clearly knows what to do, distractions automatically reduce. That is why the book advises reviewing your goals again and again so the mind does not wander and energy is used in the right direction. The book also explains that self-respect is real wealth. When a person keeps promises to himself, his self-respect increases, and when self-respect increases, he does not bow in front of others. Rebuilding yourself means becoming strong in your own eyes, not just trying to impress the world. Brian Tracy explains that the comfort zone keeps a person safe but does not allow growth. Growth always comes with discomfort. When a person does a little uncomfortable work daily, his capacity increases, and after some time, the same work becomes easy. The book also says that focus should not only be on work, but on the right work. Brian Tracy says being busy and being productive are different. A person who wants to rebuild himself chooses work that brings him closer to his goals and learns to leave the rest. Brian Tracy also says a person should develop a leader mindset. A leader is not someone who controls others, but someone who can control himself, his emotions, and his actions even in difficult times. When a person becomes his own leader, situations do not control him. The book also explains that mistakes should not be hidden. Brian Tracy says the one who accepts his mistakes can improve them. Rebuilding means leaving ego and accepting learning, because learning is what moves a person forward. Brian Tracy also explains that success does not come from outside, it is built from within. When a person becomes disciplined, focused, and confident internally, the outer world starts changing. That is why the book emphasizes inner work again and again. The book teaches that when consistency is combined with patience, no goal remains far. Moving forward a little every day and never stopping is the way to rebuild yourself. This part of the book leads to a strong conclusion where the author clearly says that a person does not need to be perfect, he needs to be committed. Committed to growth, committed to goals, committed to making life better. At the end, Brian Tracy clearly says that life does not change with one decision, life changes with daily decisions. That is why rebuilding yourself is not a one-day event, but a daily practice. A person often thinks that one day everything will be fine, but the truth is everything starts becoming fine when a person starts fixing himself. The book builds the belief that no matter how broken a person feels, the strength to stand again is already inside him. The only difference is that he has not used that strength yet. When a person changes his thinking, habits, and takes responsibility, he slowly comes out of his old version. Brian Tracy says the biggest risk in life is doing nothing, stopping because of fear, living below your capacity, and accepting limits. That is the real failure. Rebuilding yourself means deciding that you will move forward even with fear. You are not perfect, but you will not stop. The book also reminds that you are not alone. Every successful person once stood where you are now, with confusion, fear, self-doubt, and uncertainty. The only difference is they did not stop. They took small steps, kept learning through failures, and those small steps created big results over time. Brian Tracy also says control is not outside, it is always inside. You cannot control people or change situations immediately, but you can control your thinking, your response, and your effort. When a person understands this, he stops being a victim and becomes a creator. The final message of the book is simple and powerful. If you want your life to change, start today, not next month, not next year, and not waiting for a perfect time. Make a promise to yourself that every day you will try to become a little better. You will not run from fear, you will not blame others, and you will take your life seriously. Time to Rebuild Yourself is not just a book, it is a reminder that your life is not over yet. No matter how many mistakes you have made or how far behind you feel, you still have time to rebuild yourself. And if you make this decision today, your future will start changing automatically. Because in the end, life becomes what a person builds within himself every day. When you become strong inside, the outside world starts changing. If you liked this video and it made you think, then like the video because your support gives strength to create more such content. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss knowledge that can improve your life. And write in the comments which part of this video touched you the most, because your opinion matters a lot. See you in the next video with a new thought, new energy, and a new journey of becoming better.